Ready or Not, developed and published by Void Interactive, is a tactical shooter in the vein of Rainbow Six and SWAT games from the late 90s and early 2000s. In fact, Ready or Not can be called the unofficial SWAT 5 that we never got, as much of the gameplay fundamentals are based on what has been established by Sierra in SWAT 3 and iterated by Irrational Games in SWAT 4. The whole premise of the game is that you are a SWAT team commander in the fictional city of Los Sueños in the United States, inspired by the real city of Los Angeles, and you are tasked to respond to all manner of criminal activity ranging from gas station robberies, hostage rescue, raids on suspected criminal hideouts, and many other high-stakes scenarios. As the team commander, you are in charge of 4 squad mates neatly divided into 2 color-coded teams as blue and red. You are all expected to uphold the proper rules of engagement as the police and are expected to minimize casualties and save many lives as possible. To achieve this goal, you are provided with an arsenal of less lethal equipment and high-tech gadgets. But since these types of situations can rarely be solved peacefully, you also have access to a wide array of regular weaponry. Before I begin, I would like to point out that this game gets updated frequently, which can change everything from visuals, sounds, maps, the artificial intelligence, and/or remove existing content in the game. Comments I make in this video are for the late 2025 version of the game that I played and recorded. When you first boot up the game, you are only given access to a handful of maps that you can play. You will see that there are 2 single player modes, which are Commander mode and Quick Play mode. You are initially meant to play through the Commander mode, sort of a campaign mode for this game, in order to unlock the remaining levels. The quote-unquote big difference of the Commander mode from Quick Play is that the quote-unquote AI team roster management that it brings to the table. Now, I initially thought that this would have been a fleshed out squad management system, something akin to the modern XCOM series, but alas, it is nothing like that. You are just given some random guys that can unlock some small bonus effects as you take them on missions with you. If and when they are injured or just exposed to missions, they need to sit out on the sidelines with the therapist or just wait until they are healed. That is it. There's nothing in-depth about the system. The AI teammates are otherwise identical during missions, and the game gives you infinite teammates to keep playing the Commander mode. So there is really no incentive to care about your teammates at all. Honestly, the Commander mode is just a half-baked idea that could have been scrapped. It's just a contrived way to make the player unlock levels one by one. So whether you play the Commander mode or just the Quick Play mode, the game throws you into the police precinct. Although there isn't much to do here, you can wander around and swap your gear. It at least lets you try out the weapons on the shooting range. Once you're ready, or not, you go to the briefing room table and pick a mission. After that, you can optionally press Tab to hear the mission briefing. Yeah, the mission briefing is weirdly obscured like that. When I first played the game, I actually thought they didn't even have mission briefings, but no, they're just hidden. When you actually want to play the game, you hit Y to ready up and wait a 10-second countdown. Then wait through a loading screen. Then wait through another 10-second countdown inside the SWAT van. This happens even though we are in a solo single-player environment. Yeah, I know the game mainly wants to push its multiplayer co-op nature, and this was probably a developer decision to unify things, but why do I need to wait for a 20-second countdown, even in single player? It might seem petty for me to complain about these things, but if you fail a mission and want to change your gear, guess what? You need to go back to the precinct again, change your gear, then come back, wait for the 10-second countdown, then wait for the loading screen to finish, then wait another 10-second countdown. These things add up over time and really just waste your time. Why couldn't there be a special check that made the countdown timer like 1 second if the player was in single player mode? Why was this never even considered? Anyway, once you get into a mission, the core gameplay loop is mostly eliminating suspects, rescuing civilians, finding some prerequisite mission evidence, and occasionally something a bit different like bomb defusal or the arrest of a particular specific suspect. You can command your AI teammates using context-sensitive commands, most commonly for them to follow you, breach and clear rooms, move to a specific location, or cover a certain angle. The game expects you to uphold the rules of engagement, which forbids shooting anyone who's not pointing a firearm at someone else. So if a suspect has a gun but isn't pointing it at you or a civilian, then you are expected to yell at them to surrender and or use less lethal grenades, your taser, or other less lethal weapons to get them to comply. However, if they are pointing a weapon at you or anyone else, then all bets are off and you can start shooting. As the SWAT team, you are expected to detain anyone else you come across in the level, whether or not they're civilians or suspects. In fact, the game expects you to cuff any wounded or dead persons lying on the ground, as some suspects can fake being wounded, get back up from the ground and shoot you. There are even some missions where suspects have identical clothing disguising them as civilian workers or force some civilians to wear threatening devices on their persons, blurring the line between foes and neutral civvies. In some missions, everyone can have civilian clothing, but some have concealed firearms or knives on their person and take you by surprise. And sometimes, some dumb civvy will reach into their pockets, making you think they're pulling a knife on you, only to pull out their phone and take your pictures. I really appreciate the game in this regard for keeping things tense and making target acquisition something you have to actively assess during a level. Because in the older SWAT games, the suspects and civvies had fixed clothing and character models that you learned and memorized over time. And while it is still sort of the case in this game, it is a bit more obscured and keeps you on your toes longer. In addition to handcuffing everyone, you are also expected to bag up guns fallen onto the ground, again a gameplay mechanic going back to the 1999 SWAT 3, but at least here in Ron, your AI teammates are amazing little evidence collection machines and they will just hoover up all the guns on the ground while handcuffing anything bipedal. And come to think of it, the mandatory radio calls that you're expected to do are also pretty much automated. Cuff someone yourself and your character just instantly reports it. Or if you fail to report something, your AI teammates will nearly 100% report it themselves. The only thing that they don't report are the hidden bonus objectives. One thing that immediately sets Ron apart from other tactical shooters and other FPS games in general is how visceral and chaotic the gunfights can feel.
Hands up! Get down on the floor right now! Hands up! Drop the weapon! Drop the weapon! Hands on your head! Provide cover. En route.
Entry team to talk.
Hands up! Drop to your knees!
Out of the way.
There, go.
On my way. God damn it! It's good capacity. Detain. Got it back.
Team to talk.
Talk reporting. Continue with your mission.
Blue. Search and secure the area. I'll help you.
Please, talk.
Put your hands up!
Notifying trailer.
Having fun?
Over there.
Moving on.
Drop your weapon now! Get out of here!
The screen effects such as blur, narrowing vision combined with a very punchy and loud gunfire instills a real instinctive response for you to take cover and return fire while minimally exposing yourself. It genuinely took me playing a few missions to get used to how scary the gunfights can feel in the game. The gunplay has this nice balance that makes it feel realistic without being too hard to pick up and learn for a casual player. The general gist is that the more powerful a weapon is, the harder it is to control the recoil, so the really powerful military issue weapons such as the G3 kick back like a mule but have superb stopping power, often requiring one shot to knock someone out of the fight, and has great armor penetration and can even penetrate some of the cover that the suspects are using. And yes, shooting at closed doors to take someone out is a thing in this game, and even the suspects sometimes take advantage of this, so be very careful near doors. The less powerful weapons, mostly the SMGs, take more rounds to neutralize the suspects, but are really easy to control in full auto. And there are also the shotguns, which, as video game shotguns go, are very realistically depicted. That means they are able to shoot things that are further than 10 meters away with decent accuracy. The problem I have with them is that they can't breach locked doors unless you take a very special gadget shotgun specifically meant for door breaching. It feels needlessly video gamey to need a special shotgun that only works on doors and another for combat. And there's also the fact that you need to reload one shell at a time, and you have a shell capacity of usually 8, and this really hurts the effectiveness of shotguns in general compared to other weapons in the game. Apart from that, I find the mechanics of the weapons and the gunplay to be rather excellent. You have the ability to switch firing modes on the weapons. The reload mechanic is kept rather realistic as you have finite magazines with finite rounds inside, and the game keeps constant track of all of them. So it is a legitimate tactical decision to reload a half-empty magazine. You can also hit the reload key once for a slow reload that keeps the magazine in your pockets, or double tap the reload key for a much faster reload that discards the magazine on the ground. You can then go back and pick up the mag on the ground after the firefight. The length of the weapon when leaning around corners or pressing up against walls are always taken into consideration, thus bringing a full-length rifle to a close quarters situation can be a burden as opposed to an SMG. The suppressors also add to the length of the gun and thus should be factored in as a tactical decision. The proper height over bore with barrel of the gun and the optics mounted on top are also taken into account by the game. The attachments you choose for your weapon can also make some meaningful changes in your gameplay style. For example, the high magnification zoom optic when mounted on the G3 takes a ridiculous amount of space on your screen and it is really hard to use in close quarters. So you need to make use of the backup sights that are located on top of the magnification to acquire targets at range, or just to be able to use it in close quarters, or switch to a pistol when you're in CQB. As for the gadgets, you have a selection of 3 less lethal grenades to choose. First one is the flashbang, pretty much the best grenade in the game in my humble opinion. It has a generous effective radius and there are no enemy types in the game that are immune to its effects. The second one is the CS gas, or pepper gas, which sounds awesome in theory. Equip your team with gas masks, throw them in the room, it's a lingering effect so you have a bigger margin for error, right? The gas has an AoE that must be like 1 meter squared. I have had suspects that stood a few meters away from the gas and just be fine. Plus some missions have dudes in gas masks that are immune to it. Combine this with the fact that you yourself need to equip the gas mask that blocks a lot of your field of vision and you easily have the worst grenade in the game. Now, I'm not a riot control expert or anything, but I have seen CS gas thrown in open air in the streets and cover the area just fine. It could use a little bit of buff to it. The third less lethal grenade is the Stinger, and this is more like a traditional grenade that explodes into smaller rubber balls that probably hurt a whole heck of a lot. But if someone is slightly behind cover, then they are more or less immune to its effects. And also for whatever reason, this thing is really hard to throw. I had mine bounce back off into my face, and I have also seen my AI teammates bounce it back into our own room. So yeah, 2 out of the 3 grenades are kind of pointless in my opinion. The rest of the gadgets fare better though. There is the electric taser gun, which never stops being useful because for one, the civilians are very stubborn and refuse to surrender, and 2, you can catch some suspect near doors and zap them for an easy arrest. So I always took one taser with me. An alternative to the taser is the portable pepper spray, which I also found useful. It is a bit easier to use since you can generously spray it and you don't need to reload, but the effective range is a bit shorter, so the two are nicely balanced. Next up is the mirror gun, which allows you to check under doors and corners for incoming threats. I would say that the aggression and the pace of combat in RON makes the mirror gun situational and a bit hard to use at times, but I'm saying this as a positive because you can actually opt to pick other gadgets instead of it. Next are the single shot grenade launchers that you reload after each shot. They come with the previously mentioned 3 types of grenades and therefore the flash one is the only useful one to take. They can be useful in the more open maps where it is harder to throw a grenade over 10 meters, but other than that, unless you really must have extra grenades, I don't really see much use for them. You also have access to a battering ram and a ballistic shield. The RAM is self-explanatory, it just opens locked doors with a single thwack, a really powerful breaching option, and the ballistic shield completely changes how you approach gunfights, allowing you to tank bullets with ease and return fire with your pistol. Just don't forget to attach a laser sight to your pistol and you are good to go with the ballistic shield. I made sure after a while to always equip one guy on the team with a battering ram and another with a shield. The AI will actively use the shield if you give them the order to clear a room, so it is really powerful. Honorable mention goes to the C2 door breach charge, which can kill enemies standing behind the door and also kill civilians standing behind the door, so I never took it. And finally, last but not least, we have the door wedge that allows you to block doors for enemy use. A great gadget to jam doors that may be a potential flank on your back and gives you map control and peace of mind throughout the level. The game also features an armor system. First, you get to choose your vest, which determines your speed. No armor is the fastest, but good luck clearing a level. I don't think I even have footage of me not being injured at the end of a mission. Next, you have the stab vest, which only protects against knives but gives you the most pockets. The pockets are what allow you to take gadgets and ammunition on your team. After that is the light armor, which was my preferred choice, a decent speed and pocket to armor ratio. And finally you have the heavy armor, which turns you into a walking tank, but you move slow as molasses and have the least amount of pockets. On top of the vest, you can also equip a different face gear. The first is nothing at all, which has the best visibility. Next is the anti-flash goggles that more or less eliminates the effects of flashbangs with some little vision impairment. Next is the gas mask with more vision impairment for gas immunity. And finally you have the ballistic mask that gives you armor on your face for the most visual impairment. The injury system in the game is limb based. Depending on which limb is injured, you can get walking speed penalties or just broken legs that make kicking doors impossible. Or you can get difficulty with aiming if you're shot at one of your arms. However, I will say that the injury system doesn't come that often into play compared to, say, SWAT 4. In that one, getting shot in the leg meant that you had your speed pretty much cut in half and disabled sprinting. And an arm shot meant that your accuracy was also nearly cut in half as well. Ron is a bit more forgiving. You can still sprint, and if you lower your gun, you get a bit more speed boost. As for arm shots, well, I never had any issues hitting what I was aiming at ever, so I'm guessing it's a minor penalty. The gameplay is more or less how you decide on your squad's kit, how you tactically apply them in the level, how you control the flow of methodically clearing the level, being overly cautious at every step of the way to ensure a win. The suspects can be overzealous and swarm your position if they notice you in the next room. Some smaller levels, because of this, has crazy hectic firefights. And in the bigger levels, they can take pot shots at you from far away, making you scramble into cover and try to figure out where the shots are coming from. Some levels have extra hazards such as door trip mines, which I wholeheartedly think is an evil gameplay implementation, because they only appear every now and then and only on randomly select doors. So most of the game you're just used to breaching and clearing rooms, and you get to one of the missions with the trip mines. Well, let's just say it takes me a few restarts to adjust and actively start looking for them.
Lead to talk.
Maybe if they weren't a one-shot kill, I'd be more lenient, but honestly, they're fine as a nasty surprise every now and then. Speaking of restarting, we are once again back to one life rules. Once you die, you have to restart the level. Or optionally, you can watch your AI teammates after you die for some interesting footage. But yeah, unless you are in co-op, dying means a hard restart. Now again, I'm fine with this decision. On paper, most of the levels takes, 15 to 20 minutes to clear, but some levels, such as the hospital level, took me 35 to 40 minutes to properly clear. So an option to assume control of AI teammates after we die would have been an amazing feature to have, an extra life to clear the level. This sort of system also has the unintended side effect of undervaluing the life of your AI teammates and trying to always send them through the doors first. SWAT 3 Game of the Year edition had the AI control after death. Classic Rainbow Six has always had you control AI teammates after death and even switch between individual teammates at will. And I would also like to talk about a particular mission in the game that I have a personal vendetta against. The college campus level. Now, it has nothing to do with the censorship stuff. Allegedly, this level layout has been altered because of the console release of the game and some of the content has been toned down. Fine, whatever, I don't care. My personal problem with the level is that it is a giant roadblock in the middle of the campaign. In my humble opinion, this is the single hardest mission in the game to complete. Reason number 1, the suspects in the level actively seek out, find and take hostages and randomly also shoot them. If any hostages die, guess what? The mission fails and you need to restart. Alright, so you kit your team out to be agile and heavily armed, but the suspects are also randomly spawned and the map is also pretty large, thus it is completely up to RNG if you find the suspects before they find the hostages. Fine. If you restart enough, you will get lucky, right? Yeah, maybe, but there's also an additional RNG ticking clock. There are multiple bombs randomly spawned in the level, and you have limited time. I have had runs where I got all the suspects, then wandered the level like a moron, and failed because I couldn't find the last bomb. This is just stupidly harsh level design. Also, why is the darn SWAT disarming bombs? That's the bomb squad's job. Did they cut funding and now we're expected to do another department's job too? At least give me a partial victory condition if I eliminate the suspects and deduct points at the end because I was an idiot who couldn't find the bombs. I said this in my SWAT 3 video regarding the sewer level with the timed bombs, and I will say it here too. Blocking player progress through the campaign with the use of RNG based limited timers is cruel and bad design. If you must have a brick wall of a level in terms of difficulty, make it the final level or the penultimate level. Anyway, speaking of neutralizing all the suspects, you can always check the objectives by pressing tab, and the game also tells you if you indeed eliminate all suspects by marking the Bring Order to Chaos objective as green. But if you still haven't found all the civilians, then congratulations, you now have the privilege of playing hide and seek, searching all the nooks and crannies in the level for that one last civilian stuck behind a door or something. Again, just an optional ability to finish a level with some point deduction after all the suspects are dealt with would be such a quality of life change. Heck, the game even has the trailers, the guys that come after all the objectives are completed, except the hidden bonus ones at the start, and these guys carry the people in handcuff and take them off the premises. Just make it an option that these guys come into the level, start searching for the missing civilians and find and handcuff them, something like that. Anyway, yeah, the game gives you points and grades at the end of a level like a school teacher, but all you need to do is complete the main objectives to pass to the next level. In order to get the best grades, you have to go out of your way to cosplay as an airsoft team with less lethal pepperball guns against heavily armed drug traffickers with AKs. Yeah, I'm not doing that, I'm sorry. The best grades unlock pointless cosmetics for your characters anyway, so if you really care about that stuff, good luck grinding some of these levels. The artificial intelligence in the game works really well and is an overall improvement over SWAT 4, is what I would have loved to say here, but unfortunately it has been buggy since some of the last patches. Now, I remember that in 2023 release the AI wasn't amazing or anything, but it wasn't this problematic as it is today. The main problem stems from the friendly SWAT AI absolutely breaking down and refusing to follow their orders. I've noticed that it is likely to happen more in some maps as opposed to others, but I was able to get them to break down and do nothing pretty much on every mission. They just sit there and do nothing after you give an order. Sometimes ordering them to move around fixes the issue, and sometimes nothing fixes the issue. So yeah, whether you like it or not, there are going to be times that you're going to have to order them to follow you into a room breach that you personally perform. I really hope they fix the issues or at least revert the AI back to its state in 2023, because not everyone has like-minded friends interested in playing the same games as they are in co-op. And there's an extra issue, and this was also an issue in SWAT 4 as well. When you order them to follow you, they have a habit of never ever helping you out in a firefight ever. Instead, they just hang back, chill out, relaxing behind you while you just exchange gunfire. I just wish that they would show a teeny tiny bit more initiative during firefights. So, assuming that they fix the issue of following orders and give them a bit more initiative during combat, I'd say that we potentially have the best SWAT AI in the series to date. I find that they are pretty good at holding their own during a firefight. They're good at cuffing and detaining evidence, which automatically makes them better than vanilla SWAT 4 AI, but as it stands, in its current state, SWAT 3 from 1999 still has the best SWAT officer AI. So congratulations Sierra, you still have the #1 spot for 26 years consecutively. The suspect AI on the other hand fares a lot better. Maybe it is also broken under the hood, but I wasn't able to see if it was malfunctioning or not. They try to flank and surprise you, rush you with overwhelming numbers, sneakily wait in a corner, shoot you from across 20 meters and make you brown your pants. They hesitate to surrender, sometimes fake surrender and pull a knife. They have a lot of tricks up their sleeve that keeps the gameplay unpredictable and fresh. I want to briefly talk about the visuals and atmosphere of the game together, because a game can have very high visual fidelity and have terrible atmosphere due to art direction, or vice versa. Ideally, a game should have a decent balance of the two. Ready or Not, running on everyone's favorite game engine, Unreal 5, boasts some rather high fidelity assets, specifically on the SWAT officers and weaponry, mixed in with mediocre world assets and textures that are used to great effect. The game world of Ron is meant to be dark, gritty, downright depressing, and the level design and lighting captures the intended visual. On a technical level, it may not be the prettiest video game released in 2023, but the overall presentation manages to hold everything together 2 years later. I do have some complaints, however, and this is a general complaint to modern video games. Without the use of DLSS or FSR4, this game looks slightly blurry and the reflections have this tendency of dancing around or swimming, but through the use of AI Blackmagic, DLSS and FSR4 are able to make the image look a lot cleaner and mostly fix the issues with the unstable reflections. The footage you're seeing uses the work-in-progress FSR4 version that was leaked a while ago that works on the 6000 and 7000 series of AMD cards. If your video card doesn't support these technologies, then unfortunately you are left with a slightly blurrier game with distracting reflections. As a matter of fact, I would advise turning reflections off completely if that is the case, as the lower setting uses the good old stable cube map reflections and ditches the screen space implementation. Also, the in-game mirrors do not work properly. They have these screen space reflections applied to them, which causes a jarring effect of ghostly apparitions haunting you when you look at them. Every mission in the game has its own vibe and atmosphere. A hospital feels like a hospital, a gas station feels like a gas station, and a drug den sure feels like a drug den. There's even a mission straight out of Dishonored 1's Brigmore Witches DLC, with a mansion occupied by an all-female gang. The final dock mission during the dark and stormy night feels noir and kind of appropriate for a final mission. The street outside poor neighborhoods are filled with shanty towns made by homeless people. The whole game world just has a life of its own separate from you as the player. If I were to pick a favorite, then it probably would be the Neon Nightclub, as it is a visual masterpiece, probably also has the best soundtrack in the game too. But I will save that for the next music and audio section. One final thing to comment is the amount of graphical violence presented in the game. And yes, this footage is from the version that was censored, or rather toned down for the console release of the game. Even after it has been toned down, the game is one of the more graphic games I've played in recent memory. In order to not anger the YouTube algorithm, I will show you the more timid examples that I've seen, such as footprints being visible after an intense combat, And yes, this game used to be much more graphic, on the levels of Left 4 Dead 2 dare I say, but the current version still fits the dark and realistic tone that the entire game is trying to depict. As for audio, let's start with the voiceovers, PO. I want to say that this is a case of mostly professional VO mixed together with we grab some friends to record some unimportant lines here and there.
Eyes and ears, guys. Here's what's going on. This is a large roundup of a potential heavy hitter and the men working for him.
What do you
This
think of the
isn't
new
gonna be some
cooperation
fucking
agreement
stroll in
with
the park,
Coast?
boys. We've got an arrest warrant for Amos Bowl.
The adult film guy? The very same. Our cybercrime team.
The main SWAT characters are spot on, they're always calm, only yell when they're telling someone to drop their weapons, and otherwise talk to one another and talk professionally.
Move in, clear the room. Ready. Get on the ground now! Don't move! Let's go!
Opening on the left.
Police, drop it! Get on the ground now! Get down! Hands on your head! Do it now! Get down! I want to see hands! Drop it and get down! Get down and don't move! Put your hands up!
Move in, clear the room.
Roger that. I'm going. LSPD, come out!
Nothing here, sir.
Come out slowly! Don't move! Should've listened the first time.
Chem light.
I'll bag it. Give up and I won't hurt you. Evidence
Go. Element
Turn around slowly.
Talk to lead.
Stay here.
Trailers
Stay
incoming.
calm.
Proceed with caution.
Element to talk.
Talk to element. Great work. Keep going.
However, they unfortunately have the witty dialogue syndrome where they can make up gags or jokes just after a firefight or worse after some of their friendly officers got shot and killed.
I've heard about these trucks. You'll never catch me driving them. American only.
I don't know, I didn't like the stuff back in SWAT 4 and I still don't like it in Ron. It clashes too much with the super high stakes situations that the game tries to depict. The Talk, the guy on the radio, thankfully talks to the SWAT team in a professional and calm manner as well, and only occasionally talks disappointed or frustrated when a civilian is downed unintentionally.
We got a
Talk
suspect
reporting.
here in need
Medical
of medical
assistance
attention.
standing by.
Keep your hands behind your back.
They're killing hostages. Move!
The NPCs in the mission have different dialogue and deliveries depending on their affiliation and the current situation. Some of them are vulgar,
Weapon and get down slowly.
Over there.
Put the weapon down. Drop it. Drop it.
some of them are in constant panic mode, and some of them just wants their shift to be over.
I sure stayed on today.
Some of the particular suspects actively tries bribing the SWAT team during the raid.
Fucking drunk.
Just let me walk. I'll pay you anything you want.
Some quote-unquote friendly undercover FBI officers that you need to rescue during certain mission can be unintentionally comedy goldmine from what I've personally seen.
Dropping a light.
It's Lopez.
Entry team to talk. One
Talk to
suspect in
entry
custody.
There does seem to be a lack of voice lines for contextual commands in the game from what I've experienced. Now, just to clarify the comparison, nearly any bespoke voice command in SWAT 4 had a unique dialogue line. That included multiplayer exclusive voice commands as well. In Ron, however, some generic voice commands are used for multiple things. Not a huge deal breaker for me, but the game is lacking polish in this one regard. Another issue with voice lines are when you order your teammates to use the mirror gun to check the room for threats, they can give some really confusing and downright conflicting information as to what they just saw behind the door.
Opening on the right. Looking good, sir. Suspect armed.
Apart from that, the sound effect quality is top-notch. Powerful weapons actually sound loud, powerful, and scary. You can really feel the difference between an MP5 and a G3. and the game actually had me consider picking up a suppressor just to make firefights feel less chaotic and manageable, since the only loud gunfire you hear is now going to be 100% belonging to the bad guys. The sounds of the gadgets are appropriately nailed down. The flashbang and the stinger are actually loud and scary. I got nothing but high praise for all of the realistic and immersive sound work that has been done on the game. As for the music, most of the soundtrack for the game consists of ambient tracks that play in the background, dynamically depending on whether or not you are in an active firefight.
There, go. En route. Get to the door and flash it.
Getting into position. Banging. Opening on the left.
I got nothing here.
Dropping a light.
Moving into the clear. Zipped up and good to go. Moving in. Opening on the left.
Element to talk.
This is Doc. Scans notified.
Enter the room and clear.
Hands up! Get down slowly! Move! Don't run or reach for anything! Don't move!
Got an opening here.
Please, hands up!
Fall in.
On you.
There, go.
On the move.
Search and secure.
Going into handcuffs. Got them all zipped up.
And unfortunately, with one amazing exception, the Neon nightclub, all of the soundtracks are forgettable. I never got the sense that the soundtrack added any particular identity to the game itself. Now compare that again with the old classics. Nearly each mission in SWAT 3 and 4 had a unique soundtrack that accompanied the level. In SWAT 4's case, the tracks were sort of like an action horror movie where it kept trying to keep you on edge and pump with adrenaline. And SWAT 3, on the other hand, had tracks that were themed according to the level that you were playing, so each level really had a different track that kept things fresh, and I can still remember the awesome church level music when I close my eyes. Anyway, I promised I would show the nightclub soundtrack, and here it is.
Dynamic movement. Move.
Entry team, this is Doc. Scans notified. This is Doc. Proceed with mission. Good here.
Executing talk.
Doc reporting.
Go for evac.
Trailers notified.
I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I just wish that they made the soundtrack a bit more out there with its own identity. This section is going to be brief. The game only has a co-op mode to play with your friends. If you can get your friends on comms and you all take things seriously, then I'm sure it is the best experience you can get out of this game. Dare I say, it is the developer intended experience. Since the SWAT AI is malfunctioning and hasn't been fixed, I'm just going to assume that the devs are focused more on the co-op multiplayer experience. And I don't have any footage because none of my friends wants to play this game and I don't like socializing with strangers online. My personal wish would have been the inclusion of the PvP modes from SWAT 4, you know, the amazing VIP escort mode and the also hilarious barricaded suspects where I would run around with a paintball gun and stun and handcuff the other team's players to score 10 points instead of the 1 that I would have had if it was a lethal kill. But as it stands, we don't have a PvP mode, but a part of me thinks that it might be in the cards down the line, perhaps as a free update or perhaps in a sequel game. All the weaponry and the gadgets that should support the rock paper scissors dynamic is already present. Anti-flash goggles beats flash but sucks at CS gas and pepper balls, gas mask beats CS but sucks for flash and also makes you blind. Heavy armor counters stun and beanbag shotguns but is super slow and vulnerable. I'm just crossing my fingers that down the line PvP will be added in the game at some form. Otherwise, we're kind of stuck with the 20-year-old float masterpiece that was SWAT 4, which Irrational Games made. There isn't really an overarching storyline in Ron, which is understandable. Every mission is in itself a story of its own. There are reoccurring bad guy factions, and there might be some links between the suspects in one mission to another later down the line, but there is no Rainbow Six style overarching story that every mission itself contributes to and reaches an eventual climax. Again, I'm completely okay with this decision. Previous SWAT games mostly had the same approach and honestly it just keeps things more grounded and fresh. Conclusions time. Ready or Not is a worthy successor to the SWAT franchise for better or for worse. While it does not modernize the core gameplay loop too radically, it at least introduces some much needed quality of life improvements and raises the bar in the visual and atmospheric design. Although the friendly team AI seems broken at the moment, I know for a fact that it used to work fine back in 2023. And I'm crossing my fingers that the developers will figure out what went wrong with the patches and fix the bugs. And before I close out the video, I have a wish list for a future hypothetical Ron successor or sequel. Some type of in-depth precinct management system. Just look at XCOM 2 and copy what it does with its base building and management systems. This would make a campaign mode a lot more engaging, make the AI teammates mean something to the player, and also potentially make purchasing upgrades and weapons tied to your performance in the field. SWAT 2, from my vague distant memory, also had a system somewhat like this, but that was a fully fledged strategy game. Some gameplay adjustments for single player is needed. Give the player the ability to control the AI teammates after death. Also give them the ability to switch between the characters, similar to Rainbow Six. Perhaps add a backup team reinforcement system. Say if the original entry team all dies, a secondary team goes in to clean up afterwards. Make the tedious parts optional. No one likes to play hide and seek with the civvies after bringing order to chaos objective has been completed. The way it works now creates dissonance, that the SWAT team is running around searching for a hidden civvy while there are countless wounded people shot on the ground waiting for medical attention. The core gameplay of SWAT 3, SWAT 4 and Ready or Not have a lot of room to be improved and experimented upon. And finally, PvP multiplayer modes. As my personal wish list, I just want to see those classic SWAT 4 multiplayer modes to be back in some modern form. And yeah, that is all. Thank you all for watching the video. Please like and subscribe if you've enjoyed it. Take care of yourselves and goodbye.
Dude, you see my masterpiece coming together, right?
Mine's whack.
Well, put some meat in there.
Huh. What kind of meat is that?
That's Meat Man's meat.
Do you think it hurts Meat Man when he gives us his meat?
I don't know. I can't read his mind.